Right, good morning, welcome back. Now today on the XJR project, fork oil change. Now irrespective of this being a project, you should be changing your fork oil every 2 years anyway as a service procedure. It's a hydraulic oil, it gets squished in and out of the holes in the bottom of the damper rod every time the forks go up and down, and on that basis it breaks down. And the performance of the forks deteriorates at an extremely slow rate over the 2 years. You won't really notice the decline, but you'll certainly notice it when you change the oil and they're suddenly so much better. So it's always worth doing. Now, I've done many fork oil changes on the channel over the years. I'm sure you've seen them, it's nothing new, but today I want to do it and show you a couple of simple and cost-effective tools that can make it a straightforward procedure that anybody can do at home. Oh, and of course this video is on conventional right way up forks, not the upside downs. If you want a video on those, I did that a little while ago, but it's still a great video and I'll leave a link to it in the description so you can catch that one if you need it instead. Right, now if your fork legs come with a preload adjuster, then when you take the cap off, you're going to get a spring out, obviously. So before you take the cap off, make sure you unload any preload to absolute minimum before you do it, to lessen the amount of jack-in-the-box that it makes. Right, to release this top nut, you need to hold the fork leg still because it's quite tight. And the best way to do that is in the clamp itself. But make sure you don't clamp this area where the thread is inside, because that'll actually make it harder to get undone. Look at that. I'm sure that's not supposed to be like that. It looks like a shim or a washer that's kind of been dropped down in the fork, assuming it would lay flat. It hasn't, it's gone like that, and it's ended up inside the spacer tube. So these have been apart at some point and not put back together very well. Right, now at this stage in the game, you would normally take the fork leg, turn it upside down, use gravity to drain the oil out, pump it a few times to clear the damper rod area, and then you're good to put the new oil in. That's the normal procedure for changing the fork oil every 2 years. But smelling the state of the oil in this and the thick, sticky grey colour that it is and the state of the rest of the bike, there's no way these forks have been serviced in the last 2 years. We need to do something a little more because there's highly likely to be a lot of sludge at the bottom. So you might think that it's a normal procedure in that case to strip the fork legs apart completely, lay them all out, wash and clean and dry everything completely and put them all together with brand new seals. But that, as a task, is possibly beyond the skill set of some people. So how do you get that sludge out of the bottom without having to strip them apart? Well, this little item is your rescue. A straightforward suction pump with a long tube that reaches right down to the bottom of the fork leg and sucks the sludge and the rest of the oil out all in one go. Now with mine, I've very slightly modified it to just improve its performance very slightly by making a slightly different tube to suck the oil out. I'll show you what I mean. This is the tube that you're given with the pump that you feed down into the bottom of the fork leg, but rather than use that one, I modified it a little bit, and this black tube is, might recognise it if you look close, is the outer shroud of a clutch cable. So effectively it's a steel-lined, springy, flexible metal tube. And all I did was join it on to an original piece of the tubing that fits into the vacuum bung. And then I've got a piece of equipment that not only means I can suck fork oil out, but also if you overfill the oil in your engine, that little probe will go neatly down in through the filler hole and suck out what you need to get the oil level correct. Need a tool, make a tool, eh? Come on, there's a hole in the middle, there it is. There we are, right to the bottom. That's it. Okay, to fill up the forks with the new oil, it must be done with the fork leg collapsed, as low as it will go, and nothing inside it. The fork spring and everything else still out on the bench, and now we put the oil in. Now in your manual there'll be two pieces of information regarding fork oil. One will be the quantity of oil and the other will be the air gap above it when it's at correct level. Now when you've got a residue of oil stuck to the inside of the fork leg like I will have, then you can't tell whether the quantity you put in is going to be correct because it's adding to whatever's in there and you don't know how much is in there. So the air gap is far more reliable when it comes to a fork that hasn't been stripped, and that's exactly what I'm going to do with these forks. And I've got a special tool today to get my air gap absolutely correct, perfectly first time, and really quick and easy. Now my fork leg is fully collapsed, that's all the way in, supported on this little lift, and just steadied very gently by the vise so it's completely upright and ready to fill. Now many of you might have seen one of these contraptions or maybe even have one in your garage already, but before I can actually demonstrate this to you and show you how it works, I've got to deliberately overfill the fork leg very slightly, and then I can actually show you how this works. Right, there we are. That's it filled up deliberately over the top by about 25 mil. That's where this little contraption comes in, so I can set it absolutely perfect. Right, here's how it works. This is a little disc that sits on top of the fork leg. This tube goes through the hole at the side, and it's got a little lock screw on the side there. I don't know if you can see, if you look closely, if the camera can pick it up, you can see there's little numbers, marked increments in 1 centimetre at a time along the tube. And all you do is you set this tube to the correct length. For this bike I need 137 mil. So I set it down to, there's 130, and I'll use a caliper to set it exactly. So my caliper reads 130, here we are, 5, 6, 7. Here we are, 137. That is exactly set to the length I need. Lock it off with a little screw. Now I take this plastic tube and just pop that on top of the metal tube, and then the syringe in the end of the tube, and just drop it in the fork leg up to its level, and then suck out the oil that we don't need. There we are. Perfect. Ain't that the simplest possible way to get exactly the right oil level on your air gap? Right, there we are, full coil changed. Now for me, that's another thing ticked off the project, but for you, it may just be a service procedure, because that's exactly what this is. It's a 2-yearly service procedure. You change the full coil like you change the brake fluid. You must be done, because as the oil in those forks deteriorates, then so does the performance of the forks, and who would want that? So I'll leave a link in the description to those 2 pieces of equipment. You can treat yourself. Once they're in the cupboard, your full coil change will cost you no more than a litre of oil and a Sunday morning. Easy. Okay, just one more point to make before I go. If you're watching closely, you might have noticed that I put the fork springs in with the tight wound coils at the top. And when I took these forks apart, they were at the bottom. Previous owner put them in that way, I've put them in this way. Now this is a big old debate. With progressive fork springs, should the tightly wound coils go at the bottom of the spring, or should they go at the top? Which way up? It's an interesting debate, so let me know in the comments what you think. And if you're going to express an opinion, it'd be nice if you could qualify it with an actual reason why. Where is the benefit if they're at the top, or where is the benefit if you think they should be at the bottom? Let me know. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Take it easy, ride safe, and I'll see you next time.